There is an English idiom related to Christianity which says, speaking to the choir. That means speaking to people who already agree with you, who don't need any persuasion, people who are on the same page as you. I think that's what we are all doing, speaking to the choir. What we need to do instead is speak to the people who are skeptical of our viewpoint. Speak to the people who are antagonistic to our viewpoint and try to convince them. So, at least I'm glad that MUTHAL Muli has organized this seminar and invited people from Telangana and Punjab. But I think it is important for government of Tamil Nadu to organize a 1-day or a 2-day seminar, invite experts from all states, states which are pro-NEET and states which are anti-NEET, and have ideas threshed out. There's no point in only inviting people who are pro-NEET or inviting anti-NEET, inviting people who are anti-NEET. I don't think government of India will do it. Tamil Nadu should take the lead, and I think we should organize a seminar, All India seminar, where different viewpoints are expressed. Now let me begin with 2 quotations. One is by John Stuart Mill, an English philosopher, who says, in all intellectual debates, both sides tend to be correct in what they affirm and wrong in what they deny. I suppose you will agree that the strongest debates, the most vociferous debates occur when there is some merit on both sides. I mean, it is never 100-0. I mean, usually it may be 60-40, 75-25, 90-10. In NEET, I would say it is 90-10, 90% against NEET, 10% for NEET. But even the 10% for NEET, you have to intellectually persuade the other side. I'm not saying that there are no vested elements. There are some vested interests here operating. But still, as Shashikant Sendil pointed out in his speech, why is it that Tamil Nadu is the lone voice calling out against NEET? Why is it that the other states have not been persuaded? That means they seem to think, there seems to be a general impression that NEET is about meritocracy. And what is wrong in having an entrance exam to test merit? That's what most people will say. People who have not examined the issue in depth. So that is the point we have to demolish. The point that NEET is not about meritocracy at all. I mean, that's precisely the point we have to demolish. Now, the second quotation is interesting. It's from the Bible. Saint Matthew the Apostle, he says, for whoever has, to him more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. This is what we say on a day-to-day basis, that the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. That NEET will make the upper and the educated classes even more rich and even more educated, and the poorer and uneducated classes slide down the slippery slope. Now, the point here is, this is always been the way of the world. This is how the world will operate. So, unless government steps in, unless government takes active steps, this is the way things will be. The rich will get richer, the poor will get poorer. Now, in the last 200 years, even before the communists and the socialists came along, John Stuart Mill, and before him an English philosopher called Jeremy Bentham, came up with a philosophy called utilitarianism. I'm sure many of you have heard of utilitarianism. It can be expressed in a single phrase: the greatest good of the greatest number. How do you decide whether a legislation or a government policy is good or bad? Bentham and Mill said, that policy is good, which benefits a large number of people. That policy is bad, which benefits only a narrow clique. So applying this test is a very common sense point of view, but you'll be surprised to know that it's never applied. I mean, the forces are very powerful. The forces against this are very powerful. Applying this test, is reservation good or bad? The reservation is good because it benefits a large number of people. Is it good for 15% of the people to occupy 85% of the posts, or 85% of the people to occupy their 85% of the posts? It's common sense. I mean, 85% of the people should have their 85% stake, So, what Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill said is, all government actions, all government policies should be informed by the principle of utilitarianism. Don't do something which benefits only a handful of people, a few oligarchs, a few top industrialists. I mean, you would agree that a policy which benefits only a few industrialists is bad. A policy which benefits big and small and medium industrialists across the country is good. So it's a common sense principle, but it's never followed. Now, everybody till now who has spoken about before me, they were very critical of the new national education policy, NEP 2020. Tamil ஒரு saying இருக்கு, முள்ளால் எடுக்கணுங்கிற மாதிரி, removing a thorn with a thorn. I am relying on the national education policy to say that NEET is bad. And what the culture that NEET has introduced is bad. Why am I saying that? These are all extracts from the national education policy. Look at the first point. Focus on regular formative assessment for learning rather than the summative assessment that encourages today's coaching culture. This is the national education policy saying. That is, focus on long-term education and not on summative assessment. That is one 3-hour test deciding your entire career. அன்னைக்கு பார்த்து உங்களுக்கு தலைவலி இல்லாட்டி உடம்பு சரியில்லைன்னா you are finished. So you don't want a person's career to be decided by a 3-hour test. Now, I couldn't have said it better. The national education policy is saying this. The next point national education policy is saying is the current nature of secondary school exams, including board exams and entrance exams, and the resulting coaching culture of today are doing much harm, especially at the secondary school level, replacing valuable time for true learning with excessive exam coaching and preparation. If Government of India were to implement national education policy in letter and spirit, I don't think there should be an exam like NEET at all. Because the national education policy says that this entrance exams and coaching culture are affecting school education, which we all know it's true. Because for the last, many people, they join what are called dummy schools. They are actually present only in the coaching centers. There's a nice Hindi serial called Kota Factory. I hope many of you may have seen it. Students don't even go to the school. They get free attendance. They are only in the coaching factory. Now, this, some of them are admitted, they join even at 9th standard itself. 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, they spend in coaching factory. Now, this affects education, and this is very bad. I'm not saying this. The national education policy is saying it, and I only hope they walk the talk. The third point is the existing system of entrance examination shall be reformed to eliminate the need for undertaking coaching for cracking the examination. This is exactly what we are saying. The fourth point, full equity and inclusion as the cornerstone of all educational decisions. It is easy to say, it is difficult to actually implement it. Education is a public service. Access to quality education must be considered a basic right of every child. Substantial investment in a strong, vibrant public education system is necessary. Now, all these things have been said in the national education policy, but if you ask, is it actually being implemented? The answer is no. What is the point of saying we should eliminate coaching culture? We should promote, we should not weaken the school system by introducing entrance examinations and then having more and more entrance examinations, more and more central common entrance examinations. Now, I would like to approach this issue in 3 ways. I think all of you here know the arguments for and against NEET. I don't want to traverse the same ground. I would like to approach this issue in 3 ways. First, this battle against what is called meritocracy is not just an Indian problem. It's a worldwide problem. This is not just an Indian problem. It's a worldwide problem. You may see here, these are books. The first is Rise of the Meritocracy, written by a gentleman called Michael Young. He wrote it in 1954. He was a British Labour politician. He wrote the manifesto for Labour Party in 1945. And he envisaged way back in 1954 that a new meritocracy, the aristocracy of talent, will emerge, replacing the old aristocracy by birth. Now, he used the word meritocracy in a negative sense, in a pejorative sense. He said, the new meritocracy by talent may appear on surface to be a good thing, but actually it is worse than the old thing. Why? Because in the old thing, at least the aristocrats by birth knew that they were the benefits of a genetic lottery. They were born into a rich family because they were lucky. And the poor also knew that they were born, the fact that they are poor is not their fault. Again, it's a genetic lottery. They were born into a poor family. What Michael Young said is, in the new meritocracy or the aristocracy of talent, The rich think that they've achieved what they've achieved by dint of hard work. They think they've got what they've got because of their merit. And the people who fail to achieve, they also have a guilt complex. They feel that, oh, nammalaala mudiyala, maybe namak therama illa polike. So he said, our friend Michael Young correctly said way back in 1954, that this is going to create even worse problems than the present aristocracy by birth. He said, at least the aristocrats were apologetic. They were ashamed of their wealth. He is saying the new meritocrats are going to be arrogant. That's what we see about, whether it's IIT graduates or IIM graduates or IAS officers. People think people are arrogant. They think we have achieved and others are inferior. The next book is a book called The Meritocracy Trap, saying the same point. It's written by a gentleman called Daniel Markowitz. He's professor of law in Yale University. Not Yale University, as you know, is one of the Ivy League universities. So he says the same thing. Meritocracy is bad. Next is a book called Tyranny of Merit by Michael Sandel. Michael Sandel is professor of philosophy in Harvard University, again one of the Ivy League universities. He says the same thing. Next you have other books against meritocracy, the meritocratic myth. I could come across only one book in support of meritocracy, and that was The Aristocracy of Talent by Adrian Wooldridge, a former political editor of The Economist. As you know, The Economist is a magazine of the far right and of the market forces. So the short point I'm trying to say here is, it is not just in India. Worldwide, there is a rebellion against meritocrats, the so-called meritocrats. People say that Trump's election in 2016 was because of this. There was a general revulsion in America, especially among the poorer whites, that they have been left behind in the race to life. Now let me ask you this question. Most people say that meritocracy is talent plus effort. People say, I've reached where I have achieved because of my innate talent and because of my effort. Why should people who don't have talent or who don't have effort be successful? That is the question they ask. I say this is the wrong equation. The correct equation is meritocracy is equal to talent plus effort plus investment. Investment of time, investment of effort, investment of money. Let's say my son and my driver's son are both equally talented and they both put equal amount of effort. Who do you think will succeed? My son will succeed because I can put in a lot of investment. I can teach him at home. I can put him in a costly coaching institute. My driver's son can't. So other things being equal, people who can put in investment get ahead in life. So meritocracy, it is wrong to think. Most people, this is the reason why Tamil Nadu's cry against meritocracy, NEET has not got the support it has deserved. Because most people seem to think, after all, what is wrong with meritocracy? After all, meritocracy means talent plus effort. So people with talent and effort should go ahead. That's what people think. No, meritocracy is not talent plus effort. It is talent plus effort plus investment, where investment plays the biggest role. As a result, what has happened now is meritocracy has also become hereditary. The old aristocracy by birth was hereditary. People inherited the wealth, they enjoyed life. Now, initially, there was some movement, social movement when meritocracy was introduced. But afterwards, what has happened? The new aristocrats by talent, they can give their children the best of coaching, the best of guidance, and they become the new aristocrats, so it has again become hereditary. Now, I told you about The Economist. It's a magazine of, it's normally against, social issues and all that. It's pro-market and this one. But even The Economist carried an article some time back. It said America's new aristocracy, the point which I made just now. It says a hereditary meritocracy. It is saying the people who are successful, the father might have become successful by his own effort, but he makes sure that his son will never go down. His grandchildren will never go down. So even The Economist says that meritocracy has become hereditary. Now you know why meritocracy tends to become hereditary? Children of rich people, they get a head start in life. They start the race much ahead. And this table shows the wealthy and the wise, children of rich parents, their SAT scores are much higher than the children of poor parents. In USA, for example, children of the top 1%, they outnumber in the Ivy League universities the children of the bottom 50%. That is more children. There are more students in the Ivy League universities like Columbia, Harvard, Brown, Duke, and all these. More children in those universities from the top 1% of the population than from the entire bottom 50% of the population. Is it because the top 1% children are more intelligent? No, it's because they are in a position to, invest. Now look at the table below. It is not fair. The gap between the amount of investment the rich people and the poor people used to invest before, it was narrow earlier, now it is widening more and more. So unless you can put in a lot of investment, you can't win the race of life. And knowledge is pricey. I'll come to this, prove the same point in India. Courses are becoming extremely costly. They're simply beyond the reach of most of the poor people and the middle class people. Now this, as I said, Daniel Markovits, the professor of Yale University, author of the book, The Meritocracy Trap. I would like to read out his quotation. It's exactly what I said just now. Even as meritocracy abolishes the hereditary privilege that sustained aristocratic dynasties, it embraces in education a new dynastic technology of its own. The new elite receives a meritocratic inheritance that transmits privilege and excludes the middle class from opportunity as effectively as the old elite's birthright used to do. The point is, I hope it's very clear. And he says, children from the richest 1/5 households are roughly 7 times more likely than children from the poorest 1/5 to end up in the top quintile income distribution as adults, roughly 9 times more likely to end up in the top quintile of the wealth distribution, and roughly 12 times more likely to end up in the top quintile of education distribution. What he means is, if you can divide the society into 5 quintiles, top 20%, then another 20%, middle 20%, another 20%, bottom 20%. Children of people in the top 20%, and you compare them with the children of the people in the bottom 20%, the top 20% children are likely to be 7 times more successful in terms of income, 9 times more successful in terms of wealth, 12 times more successful in terms of knowledge. The next is Michael Sandel. I also already mentioned. He's professor of philosophy, Harvard University. Please note, I'm not quoting some jokers. These are all eminent people, world-renowned professors from world-renowned universities. So when they say something, we have to listen. Michael Sandel says, I am thinking of the everyday ways that conscious, well-to-do parents help their kids. Even the best, most inclusive educational system would be hard-pressed to equip students from poor backgrounds to compete on equal terms with children from families that bestow copious amounts of attention, resources, and connections. For the more we think of ourselves as self-made and self-sufficient, the harder it is to learn gratitude and humility. And without these sentiments, it is hard to care for the common good. As I told you, the old aristocrats, at least அவனுக்கு ஒரு guilt feeling இருந்தது. சரி, நம்ம வசதியாக பிறந்துட்டோம், ஏழைங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கொஞ்சம் பண்ணுவோம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி. But the new aristocrats of talent, they don't have that feeling at all. They think, why should I help him? He's a failure. If he had worked hard, he would have succeeded. I worked hard, that's why I succeeded. So they don't feel that they should do something for the poor. They don't have that empathy. They don't have that social commitment. Now this is an interesting slide. This is a report of Indian Universities Commission. Now you often find people, in India there seems to be a general belief that upper castes are more meritorious than others. We all know that it's false. It is just that, they have had a head start. Now, it may surprise you to know that after Lord Macaulay introduced the English medium education in 1854, who are the people who initially took up education? They were the upper castes, the Brahmins and other upper castes. Those days, there used to be only 2 classes. First class, 60% and above. Second class, 45 to 60%. Many of these children of these upper castes used to fail. So they all represented to the British government saying, in the 45% ரொம்ப அதிகங்க, எங்களால் பாஸ் பண்ண முடியல, தயவு செய்து குறைங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லி. So the British பார்த்தானுங்க, சரி நம்ம குறை காட்டி நமக்கு ஆள் கிடைக்காது. So they reduced the pass percentage. They created a new class called third class, 33% to 45%. This is fact. This is not some thing made up. This is 30 to 30%. And you can see here this report, this is the Indian University's report. What it says is, if you had not reduced it, even now the percentage of passes is only 36%. And in Madras presidency, you find it's quite low, some 18% or something. It says, நாங்க 33% பண்ணிருக்காட்டி இன்னும் நிறைய பேர் கோட் அடிச்சிருப்பானுங்க. Now, the point I'm trying to say is, இப்போ மெரிட்னு பீத்திக்கிறவங்க, அவங்க கிரேட் கிராண்ட் ஃபாதர்ஸ் ஒரு காலத்தில் தேர்ட் கிளாஸ் ஆளுங்க இருந்தாங்க. தேர்ட் கிளாஸ் கூட. The point again I'm trying to say is, it takes some time. Of course, now they are all doing very well. I mean, I definitely admit that now all these people, the cream of India, is doing really well. I mean, they are going to US, they are going to UK, they are CEOs in top companies, they are doing very well. But they must not forget that they have had a 150-year head start. And when SCs and OBCs and STs ask for similar privilege, similar grace time, they are not willing to give the grace time. Then they talk about, so this clearly shows in a merit partly, I mean, if now they are able to show merit, it's because, not only because of it, it's also because of investment. Now, these points have already been made by Mr. Jawar Nason and others. This coaching culture, see, I think நம்ம தமிழ்நாட்டில் வரும் சொன்ன பாயிண்டே அரைச்சமாகவே அரைச்சிட்டு இருக்கிற மாதிரி சொன்ன பாயிண்டே சொல்லிட்டு இருக்கோம். ரூரல் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ், அர்பன் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ், கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூல், and the Tamil medium, English medium. I think all these points we have exhausted. I think the point which I feel that we should focus upon is the mental health of the students. The mental health, the strain on mental health that this competitive exam culture is creating. In China, for example, because of this, அங்கே ஒரு எக்ஸாம் இருக்கு, காவ்னு சொல்லி, it's a single exam. That is the thing our fellows are moving towards. A single exam for all courses. அதில் உங்களுக்கு என்ன இது வருதோ அதுபடி உங்களுக்கு வெவ்வேறு கோர்ஸ் கிடைக்கும். Our chaps are slowly moving in that direction. Now that has created havoc in the Chinese society. People go for admit their children to coaching classes. Coaching classes are very costly, and so much so that people are not marrying, or even if they marry, they are not having children, because they think that children பெற்றுக்கிட்டா இவனுக்கு படிப்பு காஸ்ட்லி, கோச்சிங் காஸ்ட்லி, children வேண்டான்னு சொல்லி. So it is creating social distortion. It is creating distortions in the society. So the Chinese president, so what he did is he simply banned for-profit coaching classes. He said, charitable coaching, free coaching என்ன பண்ணுங்க, பட் இது பண்ணக்கூடாது. Now India, for example, in that Right to Education Act 2009, private tuition is banned. But right to education, people may say it applies only to class 8. So class 9 tuition is all right. Another question people will say is, even if you ban, will you be able to enforce it? China also, people say a lot of things has gone underground. Even online tuition you can ban, because just as you can block YouTube sites and Twitter sites, you can block these also. So India should do it. According to me, India should ban coaching institutes. Because I don't blame coaching institutes alone, because they are merely responding to the system design. The system is so designed that coaching institutes are inevitable, and parents are also inclined to admit their children to coaching. All the other headlines, South Korea has the same problem. It says 1 in 4 students in South Korea contemplated suicide because of this exam pressure, competitive exam pressure. That is Singapore's commentary. Hyper-competitive culture is breeding severe test cruelty among students. NEET JEE exams are causing mental health crisis in India. Prioritize students' mental health over their exam results. So everybody is talking about the same thing. So I personally feel that we should, there's no other way. Coaching institutes will keep flourishing. We should ban for-profit coaching. I'm not saying we should ban, and the government should provide a lot of online services, free. And even other, you should also encourage, you can always encourage people through CSR activities and other ways to come up with this, but we should ban it. Sometime back, Government of India came out with some new guidelines for coaching centers, very disappointing. These are not enough. They are trying to regulate coaching. The idea is not to regulate coaching. Now, as I said already, the new educational policy itself talks about equity in education, banning coaching culture, and things like this, but those things are not being followed in practice. Now, please study this table. This is based on what is called the Human Development Index. The UNDP, United Nations Development Program, every year they bring out what's called a Human Development Index. India's rank, I've been watching it for the last 20 years. India's rank hovers between 130 and 135 out of 180 countries. We have not gone above 130 and we have not gone below 135 also. Now, it is based on 3 parameters: life expectancy at birth, expected years of schooling, and mean years of schooling. I mean, those 2 are education parameters, and then gross national income per capita. Now, what do you think? Let me ask you a question. What do you think is the average level of education of an Indian more than 25 years old? Anybody can tell me? The figure is there, of course, but average level of education. There is somebody may be a PhD, somebody may be a PG, somebody may be a UG, somebody may be 12th standard, somebody may be 5th standard, somebody may be illiterate. But if you look at the overall average level of education of Indians, 6.6 years. Yalang class. That is the average educational level of Indians. எதுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன்னா, நம்ம பேரண்ட்ஸ்க்கு அவ்வளோதான் படிப்பு. Majority of Indian parents, 7th class. Average Indian parent is only 7th class, 7th standard. So we have to recognize this fact. They are not in a position to coach their children the way somebody more is better placed. Similarly, the number of years, if you look at, you can see that mean years of schooling 6.6 for India. Now, if you look at all the other countries in that thing, they are all much more. Germany, it is 14.3. That means almost undergraduate degree. Finland, United Kingdom, 13.6, 14.4. Mean years of schooling, much more. Expected years of schooling, that is, இன்னைக்கு ஒரு குழந்தை சேர்ந்தா அது எது வரைக்கும் படிக்கும்? இன்னைக்கு சேர்ற குழந்தை எது வரைக்கும் படிக்கும்? India, it's only 12.6. It will just about go to first year of college. Whereas in other countries, you see 17.3, 19.2. That means they will do PhD also. I mean, per capita income பார்த்தாலும் நம்ம கடைசி, எல்லாத்துலேயுமே கடைசி. Life expectancy in birthலையும் நம்ம கடைசி. So, எதுக்கு சொல்ல வரேன்னா, we still have a long way to go. இந்த டைமில் போயிட்டு இந்த மார்க்கெட் ஃபோர்ஸஸ் எல்லாம் உள்ள விட்டு பணம் இருந்தவன் தான் படிக்க முடியும், பணம் இல்லாதவன் படிக்க முடியாதுன்னு சொன்னால் our country is going to have a serious problem. Our human capital is going to become very bad. Now, this was a news item. You might, I don't know how many of you saw that. If your salary is merely 25,000 rupees per month, that is, your annual income is 3 lakhs per year, 3 lakhs, you are in the top 10% income bracket. வரும் 3 லட்சம் உங்கள் இன்கம் இருந்தாலே நீங்கள் இந்தியாவில் டாப் 10% இந்தியா பிராக்கெட். தட் ஷோஸ் மற்றவங்களே எவ்வளோ ஏழைன்னு பார்த்துக்கோங்க. 3 lakhs இதுதானா? நீ எங்கேருந்து நீ 1 கோடி ஃபீ கட்டுறது? ஆப்வியஸ்லி யூ கான்ட் பே. தென் திஸ் இஸ் ஆக்ஸ்ஃபேம் இந்தியாஸ் எக்ஸ்ட்ரீம் இன்இக்வாலிட்டி ரிப்போர்ட். இதை பார்த்துருப்பீங்க, அப்பப்போ கொண்டு வருவாங்க. Top 10% of the Indian population holds 77% of the total national wealth. This is what Saint Matthew said. Those who have will have even more. Those who don't have, they will lose whatever they have. அதுதான் ஆக்ஸ்ஃபேம் ரிப்போர்ட் அதே தான் உறுதிப்படுத்துது. Between 2018 and 22, India produced 70 new millionaires every day. Billionaires' fortunes increased by about 10 times over a decade. 63 million Indians are pushed into poverty every year because of healthcare costs. Hospital, one of the main reasons for poverty is people not able to bear healthcare costs. If you are a lower middle class man, ஒரு வீட்டில் யாருக்காலும் ஒரு பெரிய இதாயிருச்சுன்னா, you are finished, you will become poor. If you are upper middle class, you will become lower middle class. So, now again request you to study this table just to say why we have a serious problem and why things like NEET and entrance exams in general are not good for India at this stage of our development. I hope you all know the concept of gross enrollment ratio. Number of students studying at a particular level of education divided by number of students in that age group. Primary education 100 பேர் இருக்கான், 100 பேர் ஸ்கூலில் படிக்கிறான்னா gross enrollment ratio is 100%. Now in primary education our gross enrollment ratio is 103%. If you ask how it is 103%, some underage people would have joined, some overage people goat அடிச்சிட்டு இன்னும் இருப்பான் கிளாஸில், அந்த மாதிரி all. Upper primary, middle education is 95%, secondary education is 80%, senior secondary +2, 58%, higher education 28%. National Education Policy NEP 2020, Government of India is saying, by 2030, we are going to increase the gross enrollment ratio in senior secondary, that is +2 படிக்கிறவன் நாங்கள் 100% பண்ண போகிறோம். 58%லேருந்து 100% பண்ண போகிறோம். அண்ட் ஹையர் எஜுகேஷன் இப்போ 28% இருக்குது, அதை 50% பண்ண போகிறோம். தமிழ்நாடு இஸ் ஆல்ரெடி 48%, பட் ஓவரால் இந்தியா ஃபுல்லாக 50% பண்ண போகிறோம். என்னோட பாயிண்ட்டு, 28%, 58% இருக்கப்போ உன்னால் NTA நீட் பரீட்சை நடத்த முடியல. இப்போ ஒரு 23 லட்சம் பேர் பரீட்சை எழுதிட்டு இருக்கானுங்க. அதே உன்னால் ஒழுங்காக நடத்த முடியல. சப்போஸிங் த நம்பர் ஆஃப் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் டபுள்ஸ், இட் பிகம்ஸ் 50 lakhs. உன்னால் நடத்த முடியுமா? நீ இன்னும் சொதப்ப போகிற. தட்ஸ் மை பாயிண்ட். Though national education policy says investment in public education should be increased, but actually அப்படி நடக்கலை. நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா நம்பர் ஆஃப் ஸ்கூல்ஸ் 2008-9 கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூல்ஸ் 8-9 ஒரு 10-12 இயர்ஸில் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூல்ஸோட எண்ணிக்கை இன்க்ரீஸ்ட் ஒன்லி பை 9%. ப்ரைவேட் ஸ்கூல்ஸோட எண்ணிக்கை இஸ் இன்க்ரீஸ்ட் பை 35%. கவர்மெண்ட் ஸ்கூல்ஸ் எண்ணிக்கை கூட இன்க்ரீஸ் ஆனதுக்கு காரணம் பிகாஸ் ஆஃப் த நியூ எஜுகேஷனல் பாலிசி, லாட் ஆஃப் பிரைமரி ஸ்கூல்ஸ் ஆர் ஓப்பன். தென் காலேஜஸ் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கவர்மெண்ட் காலேஜஸ் எண்ணிக்கை ஒன்லி 11% இன்க்ரீஸ், ப்ரைவேட் காலேஜஸ் 48% இன்க்ரீஸ். அண்ட் யூனிவர்சிட்டிஸ் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா கவர்மெண்ட் யூனிவர்சிட்டிஸ் 50% இன்க்ரீஸ், நாட் 50, அண்ட் ப்ரைவேட் யூனிவர்சிட்டிஸ் 229% இன்க்ரீஸ். ஸோ பப்ளிக் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் குறைஞ்சிட்டே இருக்குது, ப்ரைவேட் திங்ஸ் ஆர் பீங் லெஃப்ட் மோர் அண்ட் மோர் டு மார்க்கெட் ஃபோர்ஸஸ். ஈவன் பப்ளிக் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் கூட ஐஐடிஸ் காஸ்ட் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா 1.12 lakhs இருந்தது, இப்போது 8.08 lakhs பண்ணிட்டான், 7.2 times இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணிட்டான். ஹவு மெனி பீப்புள் கேன் அஃபோர்ட் டு ஃபர்கெட் அபவுட் கிளியரிங் த எக்ஸாம்? நீங்கள் கிளியர் பண்ணாலும் 8 lakhs உங்களால் கட்ட முடியுமா வருஷத்துக்கு? சிமிலர்லி NIT Trichy, the fees have gone up by 3.6x. IIM Ahmedabad, it is from 3.16, it has gone up to 25 lakhs. I used to be a student of IIM Bangalore way back in 1981-82. அப்போ fees was only 1,050 rupees per annum. இப்போ நீங்கள் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா it is 25 lakhs. So effectively ஒரு காலத்தில் the scriptures used to say நீ படிக்கக்கூடாது, நான் தான் படிப்பேன். இப்போது நாங்கள் ஸ்கிரிப்சர்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்ணல. எப்படி நம்ம படிக்காத மாதிரி பண்ணுறோம்? ஒன்று, எக்ஸாம் டஃப்பாக பண்ணுறோம். ரெண்டாவது, காஸ்ட் ஆஃப் எஜுகேஷன் இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணுறோம். அண்ட் மூணாவது, ஃபீஸை ரொம்ப இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணுறோம். ஸோ நவ் இட் ஹாஸ் த சேம் எஃபெக்ட் எனிவே. ப்ரைவேட் எஜுகேஷன் பார்த்திங்கன்னா இன்னும் பயங்கரம். தெர் ஆர் ப்ரைவேட் ஸ்கூல்ஸ், எலிட் ஸ்கூல்ஸ் வேர் பர் இயர் ஃபீஸ் இஸ் 10 to 12 lakhs. அண்ட் ப்ரைவேட்ஸ்க்கு சாதாரண ஸ்கூல்ஸ் கூட 2 to 5 lakhs, மெட்ரோபாலிட்டன் சிட்டிஸில் 1 to 4 lakhs, 0.5 to 2 lakhs. Between 2014 and 18, the cost of primary education in India increased by 30%. Post-COVID, there's an increase of 30 to 50%. Now, I feel that government of Tamil Nadu should bring out a white paper on how the cost of education is increasing, not only in Tamil Nadu, but across the country. I mean, cost of education is increasing a lot. Engineering colleges, private engineering colleges, last 15 years, fees 7 to 8 times good. Medical colleges, total, I'm talking of the total cost. Central government medical colleges are still the cheapest, 3.4 lakhs over a 5.5 year period. State medical colleges, 6.2 lakhs. This is all India average I'm talking about. Private medical colleges, about 78 lakhs. Deemed universities, 1.22 crores. NRI quota, 3 to 4 crores. I'm asking, why the hell should NRIs have any quota at all? அவன் இங்கே வேலை பார்க்க போகிறான். இங்கே இருக்கிறவனுக்கே கோட்டா இல்லாமல் நீ என்ஆர்ஐக்கு போய் கோட்டா கொடுக்குற, ஜஸ்ட் பிகாஸ் த காலேஜஸ் கேன் மேக் மணி. அண்ட் திஸ் இஸ் வித் த பிளெஸிங் ஆஃப் த சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட், மைண்ட் யூ, திஸ் என்ஆர்ஐ கோட்டா. நம்மளாம் படிக்கிறப்போ வி நெவர் டுக் எஜுகேஷனல் லோன். வி டிண்ட் யூ நோ வாட் எஜுகேஷனல் லோன் வாஸ். நோ யூ ஆர் மேக்கிங் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்டுலேயே கடனாளியாக்கிட்டு இருக்கும். த நம்பர் ஆஃப் எஜுகேஷன் லோன்ஸ் இஸ் இன்க்ரீசிங். Between 2005 and 2023, education loans have gone up by 6.8 times. And amount has gone up by 14.4 times. Cost of coaching is also going up. For example, in the quota, 1.5 lakhs to 3 lakhs per year. Even engineering kuda pay panna mattinga. IIT la kuda avla pay idilla, but the coaching selavu 1.5 to 3 lakhs per year. Okay, now the next point is, does NEET really ensure meritocracy? Many people have said it doesn't ensure meritocracy. I'll prove it with facts and figures. Now, this is the number of government colleges, central medical colleges, state medical colleges, private medical colleges, deemed universities. India, about 109,000 seats are there. 52% are in government sector, 48% in private sector. As you know, government sector fees reasonable, private sector fees are unreasonable. So the private sector 48% seats are effectively reserved for the rich. So the 48% seats mulusa reserved for the rich. And because அவனுக்கு வசதி இருக்கிறனால, அவனோட பையனை நல்லா ட்ரெயின் பண்ணுறதுனால, இந்த 52%ல கூட அவன் நிறைய சாப்பிட்டு போகிறான். ஸோ கடைசியில் இவங்க யாருக்கு, நம்ம மக்களுக்கு ஒன்றுமே கிடையாது. Now this was a nice cartoon which explains the point much better than what I can do it. If you want to get into government college, you must have very high cutoff. If you are getting into private colleges, you don't have to pay. Now look at this Tamil Nadu government. If you are getting into a government medical college in Tamil Nadu, this is the cutoff. OC க்கு 581 marks, 80.7% நீங்கள் ஸ்கோர் பண்ணிருக்கணும். நீட்டில் மொத்த மார்க் 720. There are 180 questions, each 4 marks. Negative mark 1. OCக்கு last rank was 80.7 in 2022, 83.6% in 23-20. BCக்கு 73.5, 76.5. MBC denotified community 68.9, 71.5. SC 56.4, 62.2. ST 48.2, 49.2. This I am talking of NEET score. NEET வரதுக்கு முன்னால when there was only +2, the gap was much narrower. I remember as registrar of Madras University, I used to always compare. அப்போ 300 மார்க் இருக்கும். OC cutoff used to be 299, BC will be 297, MBC 295, SC 292. That used to be the gap. Very, very narrow gap. இப்போ NEET வந்து கூட the SC students have to score something like 62.2%. But look at the NEET பரீட்சையில் கட் ஆஃப் எவ்வளோ பாருங்கள். வேணுன்ட்டே they have kept the cutoff very low. யாரு? They kept the cutoff very low. The average cutoff is only about 19.3%. This is for general candidates. மற்றவங்களுக்கு இன்னும் லோயர். ஏன் இவ்வளோ 19.3% வந்து வச்சுருக்கான்? I realized this when I was Vice Chancellor Indian Maritime University. We used to have about 40 affiliated colleges. We used to conduct a common entrance examination ourselves, just for these our university departments and the 40 colleges. நான் கட் ஆஃப் ஏதோ 45% ஏதோ வச்சேன். அப்போ இந்த ப்ரைவேட் காலேஜஸ் எல்லாம் வந்து மூக்கால் எழுதுனானுங்க. சார் 45% வச்சா நம்ம பசங்கள்லாம் நமக்கு ஃபில்லப்பே பண்ண முடியாது, பாதி சீட்டு வேக்கண்ட்டாக போகும், தயவுசெய்து குறைங்க அப்படின்னா. அது சார் நான் எதுக்கு மார்க்கை குறைக்கணும், நீ ஃபீஸை குறை அப்படின்னா. நீ கொஞ்சம் ஃபீஸை குறைச்சினா டிமாண்ட் அண்ட் சப்ளை. ஆஸ் யூ நோ, ஹோட்டல்ஸ்லேயும் ஏர்லைன்ஸ்லேயும் ரூம்ஸ் வேக்கண்ட்டாக இருந்தால் என்ன பண்ணுவோம், லாஸ்ட் மினிட்ல ஒரு இந்த சேல்னு கொடுப்போம், டிஸ்கவுண்ட் சேல்னு சொல்லி. யூ வில் சடன்லி கெட் அ குட் ஹோட்டல் ரூம் ஆர் எ குட் airline ticket at a discount. I said, why don't you discount your this one? கெஞ்சி கூத்தானாங்க. சரி ஒரு 5% அதை குறைச்சேன், அதுக்கு மேலே பண்ண முடியாது அப்படின்னு. அந்த மேரிடைம் கோர்சஸ் அப்படி ஒன்றும் பெரிய டிமாண்ட் இல்லை. அதுக்கே அவ்வளோ ப்ரெஷர் இருந்ததுன்னா மெடிக்கலுக்கு எவ்வளோ இருக்குன்னு வச்சு பாருங்கள். இவன் ஒரு காலத்தில் நாங்கள் மெரிட் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி பேசிட்டு சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் நிறைய பெரிய பெரிய வார்த்தையில் விட்டாங்க. கேப்டன்ஷிப் ஃபீ வில் நாட் அலவ், மெரிட் தான் இருக்கணும், ஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்லி பை மெரிட் அப்படி இப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு they are allowing cutoff. Even this is for general candidates. They are allowing cutoffs of 22.8%, 19%, 16.4%, 19.2. ஏன் இவ்வளோ கம்மி இருக்கு? And number of candidates is 13 lakhs. 1 லட்சம் சீட்டு, 13 lakhs students. ஏன் 1:13? ஏன் 1:5 பண்ண முடியாது? The reason why they want to make 1:13 is அப்போ தான் சப்ளை டிமாண்ட் அதிகம் இருக்கும் இது. ஸோ பீப்புள் will இது. So the correct thing would have been, government should say, உன்னால் ஃபில்அப் பண்ண முடிஞ்சால் ஃபில்அப் பண்ணு, இல்லாட்டி டிஸ்கவுண்ட்டில் கவர்மெண்ட் கோட்டா கொடு. அதுதான் that would have been the correct thing. நாங்கள் எங்கள் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸை ஃபண்ட் பண்ணுறோம். Whereas in the private colleges, you can see the cut-off ranks. 10 lakh, 10 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 132 score, 137, remember 1. இதுக்கெல்லாம் கிடைக்குது. So what it means is, ஒரு 700 marks out of 720 ஸ்கோர் பண்ணிங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு ஒரு சென்ட்ரல் கவர்மெண்ட் இது கிடைக்கும். 650 out of 720 ஸ்கோர் பண்ணிங்கன்னா ஸ்டேட் கவர்மெண்ட் இது கிடைக்கும். வேறஸ் ப்ரைவேட் காலேஜுக்கு நீங்கள் என்ன ஸ்கோர் பண்ணால் 160 மார்க்கோ 120 112 ஸ்கோர் பண்ணால் கூட உங்களுக்கு ப்ரைவேட் காலேஜில் கிடைக்கும். பிகாஸ் யூ கேன் பே. Now the biggest joke is about NEET PG. Last year NEET PGயில் cut off was actually 0%. Everybody knows this. NEET PGயில் the cut off was 0%. பின்ன எதுக்கு பரீட்சை இவ்வளோ கஷ்டப்பட்டு எல்லோரும் படிக்க வச்சு எதுக்கு இந்த பரீட்சை? 0% அப்படியே விட்டுட்டு போயிருக்க வேண்டியது தானே. அதே மாதிரி நீட் எம்டிஎஸில் கூட த கட் ஆஃப் இஸ் ஒன்லி அபவுட் 19.3%, 18.1%, 17.5%. இவங்க எதுக்கு கட் ஆஃப் லோவாக வைக்கிறாங்கன்னா அப்போ தான் அந்த ப்ரைவேட் காலேஜஸ் அவங்க சீட்டை ஃபில்அப் பண்ண முடியும். பின்ன என்ன மெரிட் இருக்குது இதில்? அதுக்கு மேலே மாதிரி ஒழுங்காக +2 ஃபில்அப் பண்ணிட்டு போய நீ. அதே மாதிரி நீட் சூப்பர் ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டிஸ் இதில் 100% கவர்மெண்ட் ஆஃப் இந்தியா தான் எடுத்துக்கிறான். இதுலேயும் கட் ஆஃப் எவ்வளோன்னு நினைக்கிறீங்க? 0. சூப்பர் ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டிஸில் ரிசர்வேஷன் இருக்கக்கூடாது, சூப்பர் ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டிஸ் ஆர் வெரி இம்பார்ட்டன்ட், வி வாண்ட் ஒன்லி டேலண்டட் பீப்புள்னு ஒரு சுப்ரீம் கோர்ட் ஜட்மெண்ட்டே இருக்குது. ஆனால் சூப்பர் ஸ்பெஷாலிட்டிஸ் கட் ஆஃப் மார்க் என்ன? 0. அதே மாதிரி somebody already mentioned this, only the children from richer families can afford to take the attempt. வீட்டில் உட்காந்துட்டு ஃபஸ்ட் அட்டெம்ப்ட், செகண்ட் அட்டெம்ப்ட், தேர்ட் அட்டெம்ப்ட்னு எழுதலாம். Poorer family children can't do that. Only 25% of the children are passing in the first attempt. 75% are passing only in the second, third, fourth or fifth attempt. Now the next point is, how secure are the exams conducted by the National Testing Agency? Now somebody said, I think Mr. Jawar Nason said, National Testing Agency is set up to fail. We are not surprised at all. Adu fail agada seyyum. This is a disaster foretold. I'll tell you why. It was established in 2017 as an autonomous premier testing organization. It's a registered society. Yeah, registered society. Why was it not created like UGC? Why was it not created like All India Council of Technical Education? Why was it not created like CBSE? Why not like UPSC? Yeah, registered society. And idukku articles of association kadayad. This is a society which doesn't have article. It doesn't have a governing body also. Sorry, it doesn't have general body. There's a governing body consisting of just 10 members, or a chairman, or a full-time member secretary, 8 ex-officio members, 3 IIT directors, 2 NIT directors, 2 IM directors, 1 IISCR director, 1 central university, இவ்வளோதான். State universities எந்த representation கிடையாது, மற்ற இன்ஸ்டியூட்ஸ்க்கு எந்த representation கிடையாது. Though we are all stakeholders. How can you give representation? இந்த 10 பேர் தான். ரொம்ப வீக்கான ஆர்கனைசேஷன். இவங்கெல்லாம் பார்ட் டைம் தான். ஐஐடி டைரக்டர் போய் அவன் ஐஐடி வேலை பார்ப்பானா, இல்லாட்டி நீட் NTA வேலை பார்த்துட்டு இருப்பான். அவனுக்கு டைம் இல்லை. அவன் சும்மா ஏதோ போர்ட் மீட்டிங் வந்துட்டு உட்காந்துட்டு எழுதிட்டு போயிட்டு இருப்பாப்ல. ஸோ and these are all the exams that NTA is conducting. Government of India is thrusting more and more responsibilities on NTA. நம்ம நீட் மெடிக்கலில் ஸ்டேக்ஸ் ஆர் வெரி ஹை. ஸோ ஸ்கேம் வெளியில் வந்துருச்சு. I am pretty sure that scams are happening in each of the other exams also. வெளியில் வரமாட்டேங்குது. I can tell you from my own personal, I've been a student, I've been Registrar of Madras University, I've been Director of Collegiate Education, I've been Vice Chancellor of the University. இந்த பரீட்சை ஃப்ராடு எப்படி நடக்கும்னு எனக்கு ஒரு அளவுக்கு அனுபவம் இருக்குது. ஏன்னா நான் ஸ்கூலில் படிக்கிறப்போ one particular student used to tell the questions correctly. School exams தான், not main exam. School இந்த quarterly, half yearly சொல்லிட்டு இருப்பான். என்கிட்ட அவன் சொல்ல, he was not very friendly with me anyway. மற்றவங்ககிட்ட சொல்லிட்டு இருப்பான். நிறைய பேர் சொன்னாங்க, நாளைக்கு இந்த கொஸ்டின் வருவாங்க, கரெக்டாக வரும். அப்புறம் ஒரு ஸ்டேஜில் நான் அவங்ககிட்ட கேட்டேன், எப்படிப்பா உனக்கு தெரியுது இது அப்படின்னா, இல்லை எங்கள் அப்பா ஒரு பிரிண்டிங் ப்ரெஸ் வச்சுருக்காரு, ஸ்கூலோட கொஸ்டின் பேப்பர் இங்கே தான் பிரிண்ட் ஆகுது அப்படின்னா. It took about 1 year for the school to find out that there is a loophole here and plug it. This is case number 1. Case number 2, again from school. There used to be a school teacher, a Hindi teacher. இந்த ஆள் என்ன பண்ணுற, நீங்கள் ஹிந்தி பரீட்சை சரியாக பண்ணலான்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க, நான் இவ்வளோ பணம் எனக்கு கூட, நான் உனக்கு ஒரு blank ஆன்சர் ஷீட் கொடுக்குறேன், ஆன்சரும் தரேன், நீ அதை பார்த்து எழுது, அண்ட் I'll substitute it அப்படின்ட்டு இருந்தார். அவர் மாட்டிக்கிட்ட பிடிப்பட்டார். He was punished. So this is actually happening. In NEET also it has happened. I mean the NTA exam it has happened. This is item number 2. Case number 3, in a district collector இருக்கப்போ 10th standard and 12th standard exams, even the collectors were asked to supervise because there's tendency to copy. Because stakes are high, people tend to copy. விழுப்புரத்தில் நான் கலெக்டராக இருந்தேன். ஐ வாஸ் என்ட்ரிங் எ ஸ்கூல். அந்த ஸ்கூல் ஜன்னலோடைய பிட்டு பேப்பர் பயங்கரமாக பறக்குது, ஜகடகடகன்னு பறக்குது. ஸோ அந்த பேப்பரில் பிட்டெல்லாம் கலெக்ட் பண்ணால் ஒரு, ஐம் நாட் எக்ஸாஜரேட்டிங், ஒரு கோனி பை, ஒரு சாக்கு பை ஃபுல் பிட் பேப்பர். தென் ஐ டோல்ட் தட் சிஓ, என்னையா விளையாட்டாக இருக்குது, வாட் சார்ட் ஆஃப் சென்டர் இஸ் திஸ்? தென் ஐ ஃபவுண்ட் தட் சென்டர் வாஸ் ஸோ நொட்டோரியஸ். People from Dharmapuri, Dindigal, Kanyakumari எல்லாம் அந்த விழுப்புரம் ஸ்கூலில் சென்டராக வச்சுட்டு இருந்தான். எதுக்கான, it was well known. So this is same thing is happening in NEET also. That is, there was a center recently in Godhra, Gujarat, where students from Bihar, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Rajasthan எல்லாம் அந்த கோத்ராவில் போய் எழுதுறான். எதுக்கு இவன் கோத்ராவில் எழுதுறான்? So that means the center is compromised. Whenever people are from far off take the exam in a particular center, that means the center is compromised. இந்த அனுபவம் நமக்கு அப்போ இருந்தது. ஒரு 30 வருஷத்துக்கு முன்னாலே எனக்கு அந்த அனுபவம் இருந்தது. மெட்ராஸ் யூனிவர்சிட்டி ரெஜிஸ்டர் இருந்தப்போ தொடர்ந்து ஒரு கம்ப்ளைண்ட் வந்துகிட்டே இருக்கும் என்கிட்ட. சார், அந்த கம்ப்யூட்டர் சென்டரில், எஸ்பெஷலி இந்த எக்ஸாம் சென்டரில் அந்த டேட்டா என்ட்ரி போடுற இடத்துல ஃப்ராடு பண்ணிருக்கானுங்க. உங்களுக்கு மார்க் 24 இருக்கும், அதை 84 போட்டுருவான், 34 இருக்கும், 94 பண்ணிடுவான். டேட்டா என்ட்ரி ஃப்ராடு பண்ணுறாங்க அப்படின்னு. ஸோ ஐ வாஸ் ஆல்வேஸ் வரிட் அபவுட் திஸ். ஐ யூஸ் டு கீப் செக்கிங் அட் ரேண்டம். I instituted system saying இந்த 3 பேருக்கு கையெழுத்து போடணும் அந்த மாதிரி நிறைய கொண்டு வந்தேன். But this is happening. Even this time in NTL alone it has happened. There was an inflation of marks. Some 60, normally 1 or 2 or 3 people used to get 720 out of 720. This time 67 people got 720 out of 720. And normally about 25,000 people used to get above 650 out of 720. This time some 87,000 people got about 650. Mark ஏற்றி விட்டான், சும்மா அப்படியே போட்டு அடிச்சு விட்டு tampering. And the last case is interesting. I don't want to name the politician or the college. When I was Vice Chancellor in Indian Maritime University, I had this habit of ranking colleges after the results come. I found that this particular politician's college was coming first. Chance illa, nalla college கிடையாது. சரி, இதில் ஏதோ கோளாறு இருக்குன்னு சொல்லி on a hunch I asked for the answer sheets. 10 answer sheet பார்த்தா 10 identical answers. What does it mean? That means the question paper had leaked, the college had given the model answers, and students had all written the same answers. ஸோ அவர் என்னை கூப்பிட்டேன். அவர் எதுக்கு கூப்பிட்டாருன்னு அவருக்கு தெரில. வந்தார். ஆஃப்டர் சம் ப்ளசன்ட்ரிஸ், கொஞ்சம் எப்படி இருக்கீங்க, ரொம்ப நாளைச்சு பேசி அப்படியெல்லாம் சொல்லி அந்த 10 ஷீட் அப்படியே வச்சுட்டேன். என்ன சார், எப்படி சார், ஹவு டு யூ எக்ஸ்பிளைன் தட் ஆல் 10 of your students are writing identical answers? He surrendered immediately. He said, சார், கொஸ்டின் பேப்பர் கிடச்சிது சார், நான் உட்காந்து எழுதிட்டேன் சார் அப்படின்னாரு. The point I'm trying to say here is, நம்ம பசங்க, of course we punished him, that's a different matter. The point I'm trying to say here is, anybody who thinks that systems can't be compromised is a fool, or he's a rascal, because systems can be compromised. After all, systems are all manned by human beings. Human beings can be easily manipulated, corrupted, threatened, browbeaten. You can do any number of things to human beings. So any exam system can be compromised. Okay, the probability may be low, but it is non-zero. The probability is not zero. It may be low, but it is non-zero. And the higher the exam, the greater the stakes, the greater the chances of the system being compromised. Even online exam kuda is not safe. நம்ம இப்போ என்ன பயமாக இருக்குன்னா, நீட்டில் நாங்கள் ஆன்லைன் போகிறோங்கிறோம். ஆன்லைன் இஸ் ஈவன் மோர் டேஞ்சரஸ். அங்கே தப்பு நடந்ததே உங்களுக்கு தெரியாது. I remember as Vice Chancellor, we were doing that online common entrance test. The question paper used to be in my possession. இது பரீட்சை 10 மணி ஆனால் காலையில் 9 மணி வரைக்கும் question paper என்னோட கஷ்டத்தில் தான் இருக்கும். Only I and my private secretary knew it. I used to tell that lady, leak out ஆச்சுன்னா உன்னதான் காலி பண்ணிடுவேன். பிகாஸ் நான் லீக் பண்ண போகிறதில்ல, நீ தான் பண்ணியிருக்கணும். So till 9 o'clock, I never used to reveal the question paper. But we were worried about the centers, because you have to take a lot of private college centers. And the private college fellows can be compromised. Even with the computer exam, you can engage hackers. Supposing in the private college, and the owner and the supervisor compromise பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா, they will install a particular software in the computer. That software will allow somebody, a hacker, a remote hacker sitting somewhere else, to take charge of your computer. And you think that you are there, but நீங்க சும்மா உட்காந்துருப்பான், அங்கே somebody else will be answering the questions on their behalf. So what we used to do, we used to insist that the computer should not have any software apart from the bare minimum software. Now, as you know, what happened in the NEET 24 exam, you all know it. All these things happened: leakage of question paper, systemic deficiencies. These are the cartoons that came about that. Now, for example, there was a question paper leak in Bihar and Jharkhand. Okay, and a girl in Gujarat, a girl who scored 705 out of 720, failed in class 12 exam. She got 22 marks, 23 marks. She took the exam again in class 12, again she failed. How did she get 705 in NEET? NEET UG scam, Godhra school chairman took 10 lakhs by allowing students to cheat. As I said, எப்படியானா அந்த சென்டர் இருக்கும். இப்போ இவன் என்டிஏல ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாது, because you have to engage a lot of centers throughout the country. அந்த ஸ்கூல் ஆர் காலேஜ் சேர்மனையும் இவங்களே காம்ப்ரமைஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்கன்னா, you can easily compromise the exam. ஹரியானாவில் ஜட்ஜர் சென்டர்னு சொல்லி இடத்துல 6 டாப்பர்ஸ் இருந்தாங்க. அது அவங்க பேரெல்லாம் பார்த்தீங்கன்னா சிங்கிள் நேம் தான் இருக்கும். ரமேஷ், குசும். யூஸ்வலாக இந்த நார்த் இந்தியன்ஸ்க்கெல்லாம் டபுள் நேம் இருக்கும், ஒரே ஒரு பேர் தான். அண்ட் ஆஃப்டர் த ரீடெஸ்ட் வாஸ் டன், nobody could cross 650. So FIRs were registered in 6 or 7 states. Now, as you all know, the Supreme Court said, இது அப்படியே ஒன்று வைட் ஸ்ப்ரெடாக கிடையாது, இது பண்ண தேவையில்லை அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க. That is wrong. I personally feel that judgment is wrong, because the same Supreme Court in 2015 In Tanvi Sarwal was the Central Board of Secondary Education, All India Pre-Medical Exam, and the Government of India, Kotak Narathanappa. Same thing had happened. Within 1 month, Supreme Court passed the order. Supreme Court said, ரெண்டு மூணு இடத்துல இந்த மாதிரி லீக் அவுட் ஆச்சுன்னா the sanctity of the exam is gone. Please conduct the exam all over again. The CBSE said, இல்ல 2 months ஆகும், 6 months ஆகும். Supreme Court said, nothing doing, you conduct it. Another case was Sachin Kumar and others versus Delhi Subordinate Service, 2021. Again, Supreme Court. Similar thing happened. Again, Supreme Court said, you must conduct it. Guess who was the judge in the second case? One of the judges was Chandrachud. He was one of the judges in that. Then, but in this latest scam, the same CJ, gentleman was now become CJ. He says, no, it's only as it was sporadic. English law proverb, if you see a cockroach, there is never a single cockroach. There is a colony of cockroaches nearby. So never make the mistake of this. So similarly, if something like this is going on, you can be damn sure that there are many scams all over the place. You have seen a few, that's all. As I said, Centre is now considering the possibility of switching from NEET UG to pen and paper to online. That's even more dangerous. In IIT JEE exam, GMAT exam, about 820 students had paid a Russian hacker and got admission. அதில் ஒரு 6 பேர் தான் பிடிபட்டிருக்காங்க, மீதி 800 பேர் இன்னும் ஐஐடியில் படிச்சிருக்கானுங்க. They are happily studying. So the last I would like to say, all truth passes through 3 stages. First, it is ridiculed. Second, it is violently opposed. Third, it is accepted as being self-evident. Now, Tamil Nadu has always been a front runner in all these matters. As you know, Kamaraj built a primary school in every village within 1 kilometer of this one, way back in the 1950s. It took about 50 years for Government of India to implement Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and bring in Right to Education Act. Government of India was 50 years behind us. Kamaraj electrified all the villages in Tamil Nadu, village panchayats, in the 1950s. Only in 2018, Government of India electrified all the villages in India. We are about 60 years behind. Tamil Nadu the Justice Party introduced noon meal scheme for Chennai Corporation schools in 2021. Kamaraj extended it to all schools in 1950s. MGR extended it to cooked meals in 1980s. And MGR Planning Commission meeting wrote attend panna porappa Manmohan Singh was the vice chairman. Idala edukku appadi pesirukkaru. MGR kovamayitu he walked out. Now from 1995 onwards, the same scheme has been extended to the whole country. The point I'm trying to say is Tamil Nadu has always been a front runner. India has followed the rest about 30 years to 50 years later. They have seen the light. NEET la kuda ivanga or stage la நம்ம பாயிண்ட்டுக்கு வருவாங்க. But on the 30 years, 50 years damage is going to be tremendous. I only hope that the period is narrow, shortened, and they don't take 30 years to wake up. Thank you.
உன் கடவுளை விட, உன் சாஸ்திரத்தை விட, உன் முன்னோரை விட, உன் வெங்காயம் விளக்கமாத்தை விட, உன் அறிவு பெருசு, அதை சிந்தி.